another talking point where we'll be looking at the 10th National Assembly. We have the president, of course, the invitation to Senate elected and House of Assembly members elected under the opposition party, and that will be done today by 3 p.m. for the senators elected and 5 p.m. for the House members elected. And of course, to do this, I have with me a legal practitioner based here in Abuja, Charles Mbalisi. Very good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. Thank you, viewers.
Yeah. So we know we are already done with the inauguration of the president. Next is, of course, another arm, which is the legislature. And you know, that usually comes after the president proclaimed them. And that proclamation will be done on 13th of June. And of course, that day, the leadership will be elected. So let us hear your comment on this.
Yeah, thank you very much. The president inviting the senators elect, to my mind, is an aberration.
Why?
Because if the president is to meet with members of his party, you can term that an internal arrangement of the party. Of course, he cannot rule out, perhaps to get themselves together for a scheming on what will happen on the 13th. But extending that invitation to other party members, I think it's an aberration at this point. Because my own opinion is that if you are doing that now, the president is doing that, it could be equal interpretations. Yes, of course, a lot of people can interpret it as if the president want to use his influence now to ensure that he gets support of members of other parties to perhaps vote for his right candidate or his favorite candidate or preferred candidate. And I think it's still an aberration because it's against the tenets of democracy. House, the National Assembly, is a place, is an institution that upholds democracy. That is where Nigerians are looking up to ensure that the democratic tenets of this administration would be upheld and be protected. So I think, for me, it ought not to be. It ought not to be.
But he's a president. He has seen some members of the APC have been, if he has to see other lawmakers elected under the opposition parties, he's doing that in his capacity as a president.
Well, I don't know what may be the agenda of the meeting, but for now, I still say it can be misinterpreted. And it is, the president, of course, after the inauguration, upon the declaration, after the leadership of the assembly must have been enthroned, yes, they can visit the president.
After the leadership?
Yes, after the leadership, after the members and the senators have carefully chosen their leaders. Of course, they are all equal, but it's just to sit down and say who are going to be the primus inter pares, the people that will lead the National Assembly. And in that business of legislative assembly, duties, nobody, no authority, no persons by constitution have rights to interfere in the assembly members or the senate members choosing who is going to lead the assembly for the...
Yeah, but in the time past, we have seen consensus candidates. We have seen candidates that the president has endorsed, and some of them emerge. And what is different now?
Now, consensus, as a matter of fact, is undemocratic, especially when there are people that are challenging such consensus. There cannot be consensus when people are saying we are not part of that arrangement. A lot of people have availed themselves to lead the National Assembly. We have a lot of them, quite a number of them in the Senate. Of course, Senator Godwin Ababuya is there. His Excellency Senator Abdulaziz Yari is there. I can also mention Senator Oji Uzokalo is there. They have availed themselves.
From 3 zones.
Yes, Senator Barrow, they are there. But, I mean, that is the beauty of democracy. Let them go to the House. Let them make their scheme and try to, speak to their members. Try to, exhibit the qualities that will make members vote them. Let them be the people to do that. The parties should not be able to do that, should not do that for them. That is the beauty. If they have the credentials, let them bring out these credentials to the people, to their members. If the members found them worthy, fit and proper to lead them, they will vote them. And the Nigerians are watching. It shouldn't be done on any preferential arrangement, because that will kill, in fact, that will make Nigerians lose hope on the National Assembly if they go on preferential arrangement. Because it's not an internal party thing. A party cannot come out just because you are your party is at the head of affairs. Then you think you can use the internal arrangement to control the National Assembly. I don't think it works like that. And that is why, if a party wants to make a consensus, it is always better you dialogue with all the members of your party. There shouldn't be crisis.
So are you by anyway saying that it is okay for the party to have a consensus candidate?
If a consensus candidate, it becomes only consensus when all the members of the party have agreed to any arrangement, perhaps to allow.
But do you see that happening?
Well, I don't see that happen, because, of course, of the persons that have availed themselves, a lot of them are APC members.
No, they are all APC.
In fact, they are all APC.
And arrowheads in
APC. So it's no more consensus. There's no more consensus. You can say, yes, there are preferential candidates. Yes, APC have come out to say, yes, this is APC prefers candidate. But some members who are also qualified to become the candidates have also, so we are not part of that arrangement. So how is there a consensus? There's no consensus in this arrangement. And there shouldn't be. Nigerians so prefer that all the members elected go into the election. I mean, go in on the 13th of June, avail themselves for leadership, giving their manifestos, let members vote free without any interruption. No authority have any right to interrupt that voting on that day or influence it in any manner, because even by law there should not be anything called consensus when any person contending for a particular position is saying, I'm not part of any arrangement. That is by law. That is what the courts have said. You cannot term any election by consensus when persons who have availed, who are qualified to contend for that election, have availed themselves, of course, and you are saying they cannot because you have to be against the person's fundamental human right. You are against somebody's fundamental human right to vote and be voted for. So, especially in an institution like National Assembly, that is where voting is even part of the legislative duties. How do they make their policies? It's not by voting. Either by voting for it, or by raising up their hand, or by reasons. Is it done by consensus? No. Even if it's done by consensus, we don't want to know, but we know that what they do there, voting is part of the legislative duties. And they should be, we should see them vote. We should see them align themselves to people, the people they feel that should lead them. National Assembly now needs leadership that can unite Assembly. Without unity, if you impose leadership on them, there will be no unity. And that will undermine everything this administration wants to do. So it should be careful. The leadership, the leadership of the president himself, Ahmed Asuwaju Tinubu, is a Democrat. I know him. He has not even mentioned anything, whether he has a preferred candidate. So all this is insinuations. But as a matter of fact, the party should tread with caution.
So from where we are now is that it is not even zoned. If you have someone from South saying, I want to lead, you have somebody from Southeast saying, it's actually my turn, and you have the other man from, of course, the North Central saying that I should be the Senate. It means that there's nothing like zoning.
Like zoning. And well, it's good that all members, senators elect from different zones have availed themselves. So that's the beauty of it. If APC is zone, remember not parties here. It's not APC members that are going to that have right to vote. So if you make any zoning, you are not saying you are not making the same zoning for other parties. Of course, APC in the Senate have slight margin of the number, slight increase in the margin of the numbers that came in. So it's all going to be scheming. It's all going to be the candidate who will be able to carry the minority party along. It's all going to depend on where the minority party wants to cast their vote. It's not going to depend on any imposition. So I quite praise the courage of the senators that have come out to say they are not part of the consensus arrangement. People like Kalu, people like Abdulaziz Yari, the former governor of Sokoto State. The former governor of Zamfara, sorry. They are capable. These are leaders. These are people who are. Abdulaziz Yari has been in the National Assembly before. He has the pedigree. He has the competence. He has been a governor for 8 years. He has also been a chairman of Governors Forum. I think he should have the clout to build bridges. We want people that... Uzo Kalu too has done Uzo Kalu also has been in the Senate. Of course, he's still the current chief whip of the Senate. Until 13th of June, he's still the current chief whip. And he has the clout also to build bridges. So he can unite. These are people who can unite the Senate. If you impose leaders that cannot unite the Senate, it's going to be very, very difficult to get the cooperation of the Senate, the cooperation of the members to approve any policy. So the president will have to tread with caution to ensure that issue of zoning, issue of zoning should be taken away from this election. Allow senators and members of the House of Reps to select their leadership. Now look at what is happening in the leadership of the House of Reps. A lot of people have also come out to contend. The APC have come out to say, okay, we have a preferred candidate. Okay? And more than 7 has come out to say, we are not part of that arrangement, including a woman, Maria Monoha, Honorable Maria Monoha. Betara is there, they are all members of APC who won their seats on the platform of APC, but they are saying, we are not part of that arrangement. Democratically, they have rights to present themselves for that leadership.
What is really the fear? Is it for what is termed rubber stamp? What is the fear?
Yes, imposition. Once you impose leadership, of course, he who pays the piper takes the tune. Once you impose leadership, the fear is that any imposed leader will be subservient, will always doubt the master. And the senators, the House of Rep members, want Senate with leaders that they have chosen by themselves, leaders who will feel leaders who will carry them along, leaders who will also help in the checks and balances. Remember, these are democratic organs. The executive is there, the legislators are there, the legislative is there, and the judiciary. They are independent, even though they are interrelated, but they are different institutions. And the sanctity of legislators, I mean the legislative house, has to be maintained. They have a synergy. There's fraternity that runs in that assembly, in that institution, which, of course, if it is not held now, if they don't hold that fraternity now, they are going to set themselves out to the executive. And that is what they're trying to protect. Everywhere in the world, there's a fraternity that runs in the institution of the National Assembly. And this is the time, because if they allow imposition, then they have sold themselves out.
Yeah,
All of them
but how
they seem to have compromised.
But how would that reflect on piece of legislation that will put food on the table for the common man?
Yes, of course. Remember what happened in 2015? Is this kind of steep politics that saw Saraki coming in against
Saraki and
Dogara. Of course, because they were elected by their members. Of all the traverse they went through, they had that cooperation. There was no time Saraki was, throughout his time of being in the court, of having court matters. Okay? Because of his Bureau of Conduct, I mean, yes, CCT tribunal was facing. He never lost of the support of the senators. They were all running around because there was no threat of even impeaching him whatsoever, because they had that fraternity. There was that support all through. And it didn't stop them from carrying out their legislative duties. They were still making the laws. They were still having positive things. That the relationship with the executive was tainted. It's not in all force that you must have executive and the legislature, the National Assembly, having this beautiful compromise at all times. There must not at all times. I mean, there's leadership, but it has to be a working relationship. And not to cow an institution, cowing one of the institutions of the democracy. I mean, that will make the whole... an arm, cowing one arm, or trying to have a force on the leadership of that arm, and ensuring that what they dictate is what... Then when Nigeria is finished. If that happens...
No, Nigeria cannot finish.
Yeah, if that happens, the expectation of Nigerians, from National Assembly, would have been undermined. And that means Nigerians will lose trust on the people that have elected to represent them. And that should not be allowed to happen. And that is what we are talking about.
So what are you expecting in the 10th National Assembly? It's just next week, and by this time next week, I'm sure that the town will be painted with all manner of colors for those that are neck deep in the contest. For now, we have a governor of Akwa Ibom State, Godswill Akpabio, governor of Abia State, Orji Uzokalu. We also had the former governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Iyari. All of them, flying their colors to represent the city. But most time when we talk about this 10th assembly, it appears the red chambers get upper hand. This is much talked about.
Yes, because red chambers, even right from Dogara, they have always have a grip their leadership. Okay, so red chambers, of course, when you come to the Senate, seem to be more matured, of course, but the red chambers there, you see how more bracket people that are within the youth bracket. So
that's the green chambers.
Yes, that's the green chambers. The green chambers have people that's the House of Representatives.
Yes,
the green chambers. They have members that are more within the youth bracket. So they express themselves. But the red chambers have more matured men that we don't want to have. They like making sure that things are working in order, and they perhaps allow party to arrangements to flow. But at the green chambers, it has always been hot. where in the world, green chambers are always the people, the ones that are more critical in issues. And so that is what it should be. The green chambers have come out with a coalition to even go against any party preferred candidate.
Yeah, because there are more of opposition, lawmakers than those from the ruling party.
Of course, not the party thing, because yes, there are more, so no party can come. The ruling party cannot come out and say, well, with our bars, so it's an open field. Any party, any member that are availed themselves that want to be in the Senate, I mean, we're a leader, we have to have an open field to come vote and talk to the members, and it can go either way. So
yeah, but for the contestant in the chamber, it appears they have equal, two-time governors,
yes.
And then they're also senators, and it's not their first time. Some of them have held, leadership position in the Senate, and they're all ready to go. Yeah. But she must be able to step another.
Well,
because this thing has a way of going back to the party, and the party may also have a way of saying, you played anti-party when our party said the way it should go. You went there and also you remember how it happened with Saraki,
yeah.
And he never found it funny throughout the 8th Assembly.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be the yardstick to withdraw from availing yourself to serve the nation, because all the people who have availed themselves to serve want to serve the nation, not the
point. That's a very point.
The Abdulaziz Yari have the capacity to serve. He has been a one-time and two-time governor. I mean, these are people. What their credentials? What is it? What is the qualification to serve as a leader in the Senate? Once you are elected by your people, that's the credential, and you have been returned by ANEC. That's the credential, and they have the credentials.
And when the party is only to serve,
it doesn't matter. The party arrangement has nothing to do there, because it is matter of if you agree. If you are not in agreement with party arrangement, you are there to serve the nation. And I praise Abdulaziz Yari and all Democrats, because they want to sustain the tenets of democracy in the National Assembly. They said, look here, let there be voting. The president of this country, now, Ahmed during the party arrangement, the party came out and announced that the president then, that's the Muhammad Buhari, had a professional candidate. In fact, he said it vividly that Ahmed Lawal was the preferred candidate. And everybody reacted. Even it didn't go down well with the APC, who have availed themselves then to become president of this country, who have purchased from with 100 million as a then. If including our own president now, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, and what were they crying? They said, no, we're not part of this arrangement. All we want is give us level playing ground. Let's go to the field. And that was what Ahmed Tinubu wanted, the president now. He said, give us level playing ground. And thanks to the president, Muhammad Buhari, he gave them the level playing ground. And they went to the field. Everybody can tell it. Ahmed Tinubu won squarely.
He's not the president.
He's not the president. So he should allow that
I must thank you for your time.
He has benefited from it. He should allow that from National Assembly. There shouldn't be any imposition on National Assembly members or either Senate or the red chambers or the green chambers. There shouldn't be any imposition. Any imposition will make Nigerians, if I accept.
Time goes on the program this morning by Barrister Charles Ambalisi. Is a legal practitioner based here in Abuja, and we'll be looking at, ahead of the 10th Assembly. The proclamation is coming next week, and we'll see who will finally merge. Will it be the party's consensus candidate, or by voting, by those that have been elected across the political parties. Okay, thank you once again for being with us on the program. And viewers, this is where we wrap up this discussion. We'll come back to the questions.